You can't talk reliability without giving some reference to the overall equipment effectiveness, otherwise known as the OEE. It is a lagging indicator that we're going to learn a little later in the chapter, as is a way to monitor and improve efficiencies of your manufacturing process. Developed in the mid-1990s, OEE has become an accepted management tool to measure and evaluate plant floor productivity. OEE is broken into three measuring metrics: availability, performance, and quality. These metrics help gauge your plant's efficiencies and effectiveness and organize these key productivity losses within the manufacturing process. OEE empowers manufacturing companies to improve their processes and, in turn, ensure quality, consistency, and productivity measured at the bottom line. The calculations for OEE is availability by performance by quality, gives you the overall equipment effectiveness. Before we dive into the three metrics, let's take a little look at some of the terminologies that we're going to be discussing. Runtime is the total production time that the machine has been running or producing parts. This plays an impact on the availability as you produce your formula. Setup time is the time the machine required for an operator to perform the necessary tasks to produce the first good part. This could also be part of the changeover, and this again impacts the availability. Next is downtime, the period the machine is not available for production due to maintenance or breakdowns. This has an impact also on the availability. And finally, the last impact is the total time. This encompasses the accumulated machine of the runtime, the downtime, and setup time. Actual time, the number of parts or cycles that could be completed at a particular point within the shift, the day, or the production run. This has an impact on the performance. And the normal speed could also be said as the budgeted speed is the total number of parts, good or bad, that are produced on that machine or factory line. And the last terminology we're going to talk about is good pieces. This impacts the quality. And this is what you expect it to be. It is the input count of any parts produced to manufacturing specifications on that machine. Now that we know something about the terms, let's look at the impacts of the three categories. Starting with the availability, it is the difference between the planned production time and the actual production time. For example, if a processing factory has the capacity to produce 168 hours a week, which is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they would have the availability of the factory. How often the factory runs at the runtime and when it is not producing is considered time loss. Therefore, if a factory is only producing, we'll say 100.8 hours in a week, we would have the availability of 60%. Next is the performance rate. Factory performance is by knowing the budgeted rate or speed of the line or the factory or the actual speed or rate. If a factory has determined that it has the capacity to produce predetermined process cycles, widgets, or tools against the speeds it's actually produced. For example, if a line or factory is normally or budgeted for a speed of, we'll say 1,000 widgets and actually produces 900, its performance would be 90%. Finally, the quality of OEE is taking the total number of products produced during the same time as performance and availability against actual good, saleable product. In this example, if a line or factory has produced 8,000 products, but only 790 are good or saleable, the quality would be 98.99%. Now, understanding the three inputs and how they affect, we can now determine the OEE. OEE is the calculation of availability, performance, and quality. With the availability, in our example, we had 60% availability. The performance, if you remember, we were at 90%. And quality was well at 99%. Multiplying these three together, we get an OEE of 59.86%. To understand what drives OEE, it is to have a grasp on how it is calculated and the inputs of those three numbers. The following visual gives a different perspective on what losses impact availability, performance, and quality. When these threes come together, they give an instant snapshot of the reliability of the factory.